All right. This is very, very interesting. Hope everybody is having a great Sunday. This is a new thing that I'm trying here, trying to see how the experience feels like for both you and me, doing something like a radio episode and seeing how I can help you with your fitness journey and answer questions, dive into different topics. So it looks really cool on this side, and I hope it looks as cool on your end. There's a couple of different features that I want to try out here. One specific one is the fan line. So as we gather up here, I'm going to start opening up the fan line where you can actually dial in using your phone. You can call in and we can have a quick chat about your fitness goals or questions that you have. So I think that's going to be really cool. And I'm just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to jump in here. And just want to welcome, first off, everybody who's on here. So, one thing that I'm very curious is, of course, where everybody is coming from. So, please let me know in the chat which location are you in right now, where are you from. It would be super cool to see where is this live going to. Are you guys mostly based in the US? Are you guys based in Europe? Okay, cool. We got Belgium here from Kenneth. Hey, Kenneth, we got Michael up there as well. This was something I was really looking forward to. I was waiting the entire week to be here. We got Germany. We got guys well jumping in. That's really cool. We got Paris, UK, Germany. It's interesting. Romania. So we got a lot of Europe here. That's awesome. More UK, more Germany. All right, we got Croatia and also New York. Fantastic. All right, really cool to have everybody here. Give me a quick, let's say on a scale to 1 to 5, how good is my microphone right now? Just as a quick test here, drop me 1 to 5, 5 being amazing, 1 being really bad. How good can you guys hear me before I open up the phone line here? All right. Okay. Awesome. That's a 545. Nice. Okay. So this thing is actually really good. Fantastic. Really cool. All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna open up something called the fan line, where you're gonna be able to dial in and you're gonna be able to talk to me directly. I think that's gonna be really cool, and we can have a quick chat, whatever question you have, and we're gonna try to give everybody an opportunity to dial in as well to get their questions answered. And I think it's a really cool way for me to interact with you. Some of you might have. Not been able to talk to someone about your goals. And I think this is going to be a really cool opportunity. So let me just open up the fan line really quickly. And so there's a phone number up there, and there's also the phone number in the chat. So if you call this number, you're going to get on air. So give that a go right now, and then we'll connect and let's have a quick chat about whatever question you have. So whoever jumps on first, there's probably going to be a queue, and then it's going to be selecting randomly whoever is on the line, so we can try to do as many questions as possible. Hello, France. Awesome. Welcome, Andreas. Great to have you here. This is a US phone number, so keep in mind you can dial in via Skype or maybe some other service. If you're in the US, it should be relatively simple. If you're dialing in from Europe, then you want to put in +1. I don't think this number is free if you're dialing in from Europe. At least that's what I think. I'm not exactly 100% sure, so don't take my word for anything. I don't know if it's certainly free, so definitely check that out. But if you dial in from Skype, it might be, because if your Skype is US. So let's give this fan line a try. We got Slovakia. Awesome. That's really cool. Also, questions, if you have them, you can also drop them in the chat. So we can also do it like that. I think that's also pretty cool. If you don't want to dial into the fan line, I think that's awesome. But let's give this fan line thing a try. So, hey, Donald from Philadelphia. Awesome. Welcome. All right. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate that. We got India in the house as well. Fantastic. All right. Let me see. Let me see the number here. All right. Are you guys able to dial in on this fan line? All right. Fan line is open. So call 205-843-1668, and you're going to get on air here with me. Good evening. Let's see if this works. It's a really cool thing here. And I hope everybody's been really good with their fitness goals. I know this whole Corona lockdown, a lot of people have been feeling bad because we've all been really stuck in our, homes, and we wouldn't be able to go outside as much. Gyms weren't open, so it was a harder time for a lot of people. So I hope you guys are also doing well, and you guys are doing great on your fitness journey, that you're coming back to it. So I think that's really cool. Let me see if I can take some calls here. Listening from the UK, awesome. All right, fantastic. I'm trying to make this fan line thing work. So let me see if I can get you guys on here. So dialing in, and see if you can jump in. The number should be below my avatar. So you guys should be able to see that. So you're going to be able to dial in. Hey, awesome. We got some UAE here. Awesome. Great to see you. UK, fantastic. Thailand, nice. All right. A quick question here. What do I think about the keto diet before we dive into the fan line? So, I mean, I'm not a really big fan of any extreme diets such as keto, because they are not sustainable long term. Maybe in the short term, you can use it to quickly lose some weight, but usually that weight comes back. I'm a big fan of sustainable results and changing your lifestyle. And I don't think being in ketosis is something that most people will find sustainable long term. I don't find it sustainable. So, I mean, my lifestyle is pretty straightforward. I really enjoy my diet, I eat very healthy. We also don't know the long-term implications of consistently eating a very large amount of fat and what that does to you. Who knows? I mean, if you're doing that for 40, 50 years, if your genetic background is Mediterranean and you're doing that type of diet, we don't exactly know what's going to happen. There's no indications that might be super bad for you, but we don't exactly have the data yet. And again, I would come back to what I would say is sustainability. I think that's the most important factor. Anything you do as far as your diet, the way I at least see it, it should be a part of a routine that you can maintain for a longer period of time. So you actually don't have to sacrifice other things in your life. If you're keto, and let's say you have a family, and you have a couple of kids, and they all want to go get pizza, and now you got to do that on Friday, and it just becomes very stressful to deal with all these things. And then you travel, and then you want to go eat out. It's just too many limitations, and actually adds too much decision fatigue into your life. I tend to keep things more optimal and as flexible as possible in order for this area of my life to be as dialed in as I can, so I can focus on other goals while still having great results in this area. So I'm not a really big fan as far as that. It definitely is something that also depends on your food preference. I know a lot of people that might be okay with eating keto for a longer period of time. Again, my favorite foods aren't keto, so I would not be able to sustain that type of diet. But it really depends, again, on you personally, what you find to be working well. Oh, hello, we got Texas in the house. Awesome. All right. We got Solid Freeman. He said he's been keto for 3 years. Well, man, if you don't find it to be limiting, go for it. Absolutely. I find that for my way of training, my performance, and my food preferences, and overall, it just doesn't work really well. I find more balanced approach to work much better. Awesome. So, guys, we got the fan line here. So, give me a heads up here. I'm going to try to open this up again and see if you guys can dial in. So whoever wants to take this opportunity to call the number, we'll just jump on air and we'll have a quick chat here. That's going to be pretty cool. Let me see if, yep, I should be able to hear you guys correctly. So we got the numbers in the chat. For everybody in the US, should be pretty straightforward. You just dial the number and you should be online here. So we should be able to have a quick chat. We've got a question here. Any tips for people over 50? Well, my top tip for people over 50 is don't consider your age to be a big limitation, because it definitely is not. Maybe there are some minor adjustments if you're carrying a bunch of injuries and things like that. But I feel like for most 50-year-olds, and that's based on me having done a lot of work with clients, I worked with almost 1,000 people by this point. They usually have a lot of limiting beliefs coming into this, thinking that there's something special if you're 50 or if you're 40 even, that would limit you from getting in the best shape of your life, or having a six pack, or having a great body and being lean, being strong, building muscle. Those are more mental limitations than physical limitations. So definitely don't limit yourself, because that's going to really impact your results. It's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to get in your own way. You're going to sabotage yourself. You're not going to give it your best. And I think that's my number one tip for someone who's above 50. All right, I'm going to answer the line here. Someone is dialing in. Let's see who it is. Awesome. Hello.
Hi, Mario. How are you doing? This is Abdullah from the United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Most people know it by Dubai. I just want to say I'm a huge fan, and the work you're doing is awesome. Keep it up. What you do is basically a life changer for a lot of people. I started following you about 7 months ago. I've been doing sports ever since I was 14 years old. I'm 37 right now, and I can tell you I've done all sorts of sports, crazy sports,
Mm-hmm.
everything, you name it. But I never got to the body shape that I was happiest with, except by going ahead and doing the things that you recommended us to do, as far as changing your lifestyle, as far as workout ethic, and also I combined that with intermittent fasting and keto. I lost about 31 kilos and 31 kilos in, let's say, 7 months, and I went body percentage fat went down from 40, I think 41 to about 11.3, and that was on the this kind of machine, so it wasn't like the calipers or anything like that. But I could see my abs for the first time in my life, which
Mm-hmm.
was amazing.
Uh-huh.
So basically, what I'm trying to say here is, I've been doing a lot of what you've been saying. Like for instance, I substituted all those long distance. I used to be a long distance runner, so
Mm-hmm.
I stopped doing that. I just did walking, like you said, and exercise, workout, CrossFit, and
Mm-hmm.
then after that, bodybuilding, and sometimes, and a lot of the times, long distance walking. Like I would walk for 1 hour. I even took it a step further, and I got a treadmill in the house. I turned on a movie, and I was like, you know what? Instead of being sedentary, just sitting on the couch, I'll just watch a movie, which is maybe 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. I change to another movie while walking on the treadmill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it changed my life. It changed my figure. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Abdullah, you look amazing. What are you doing? Are you taking steroids?" And I kept it clean. I don't even take protein shakes. I'm like 100% like organic, clean food. No, no protein shakes, no protein bars, nothing. But I was doing keto for the most part. And
I'm
the question for you is
Yeah,
now,
yeah, go ahead, man. I just wanted to
uh,
give you big congrats because what you've done is what most people are having dreams about. That's incredible. So great job on that. Yeah. What's your question?
so my question for you is, what is next? So I reached to my target was 10% body fat. I'm going to do that again. I went on a I was listening to also one of your podcasts where you said basically if you've been doing a diet for 4 months, you should take a break.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually doing for 7 months, so I took a break. I traveled to Italy, and Italy is all about food, right? So I gained about 10 kilos there, and then coronavirus happened, and I had to come back, and it was quarantine. I managed to lose those 10 kilos again, but here's the thing. So I got to I want to know what's next. Like once I'm right now I'm about 13% body fat. I'm trying to go back down to 10% body fat, and I'm trying to hold it for as long as I can at 10% and just see what happens to my body. Like what is the next step? If I reach 10% body fat, do I start running my calories at a deficit, or should it just be on the maintenance level? For how many months should I stay there?
Got it.
Like what to do? Like, I can lose the weight, but what should I do once I get to the target? How do I maintain that? How do I not lose all those gains and just go back to my old ways?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to know.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, that's a great question because that's actually the real issue with most people that end up getting to 10% body fat is how to actually maintain it and how to stay between 10 and 12% or between 10 and 15% and how to properly transition to that maintenance phase. And that's, in my opinion, the biggest challenge and one of the things that most people don't even talk about a lot because most people are so focused on the goal. And the way I like to see it is that when you reach the goal, you haven't actually finished the diet. You need to think of it more like an extension of the diet to go through a phase where your body can get adjusted so you can maintain that new body weight and it doesn't feel that it's threatened at that body weight. So there's an adaptation phase. Now, obviously, you're going to raise your intake of calories being at that level to maintain that level because if you were to continue being in a calorie deficit you would continue losing weight and then you would get even below 10% and that would obviously not be desirable I think in your case because you made already a
Yeah.
very significant leap forward. So what I would say long term, and this is
So
what I recommend to clients just so you can kind of get an idea,
yeah,
when you get to 10%, switch to maintenance, stay there for at least half of the duration of your cut, right? If you want to stay there,
yeah.
then you can choose what do you
So
want to maintain or what do you want to go in a lean gaining phase where you can put on more lean muscle and focus on that and go up maybe to about 15% at some point. And by then, you're going to lose all the diet fatigue that you currently have. And then you can continue going back want to later on to get to 10% again, which will be a lot easier with the new muscle. So there's a couple of things there. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does make sense. I apologize for the sound because I'm walking while I'm talking. It's one of the things that I also learned from you is like try to make it enjoyable when you're doing the walking because it's a long time. Listen to something, read a book or listen to audiobooks. So I want to thank you for that too. So basically, what happened with me, I was 90 kilos. I went down to 59.
Uh-huh.
So I lost a third of my body weight.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to maintain it at that and then just see how it goes. And so yeah, I'm going to give it a shot the way you mentioned it, just to try and, shift my way of thinking. It's like, okay, yeah, I reached my target, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the diet. I need to watch my calories closely. I need to, have a plan to extend this out for another 3-4 months, see where I am. And then after that, during that time, it's like the build up phase because I remember, and again, I want to thank you for this because when I was losing those 30 kilos, everyone was like, I reached a point where I was like, oh man, you need to stop. You don't look good. You look, you look sick or something like that. And I remember seeing in one of your videos where you said the journey to 10% body fat. At the beginning, people are gonna are gonna think that you're sick and they'll say don't do it, but don't listen to them. Yes, your face, the fat in your face will be less, so you'll look kind of sick. But that's just the phase, and then after that, you can build it back up. That'll go away. So I stuck with it, and when I reached the 10% body fat and I broke the diet for a bit, my face came back, everything came back to normal, and it worked. So that's what I'm going to try and do now. I'm going to try and see if that maintenance phase that you're talking about will actually change my physique, like muscle-wise, and
Yes.
just make things easier for me.
Yes, it will, because one of the most important lessons that you all need to figure out, and you will learn it either your way, but I can just tell you what's going to happen is you're never going to look as good in your last few weeks of your cut as you will when you maintain for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. That's a lesson that you will have to learn, because when you're finishing that cut, your glycogen is at a very low level, you're depleted, you carry a lot of diet fatigue in general. Mentally, you're also not really sharp, and it's like because you've been dieting, let's say in your case for very long, like months and months on end, so your body is not going to be in peak condition at the end in those few weeks. But when you transition to a maintenance phase and you stay at that maintenance phase for a couple of weeks, you're going to look incredible. I've seen my own physique dramatically change in just 2 weeks on maintenance. Just 2 weeks, dramatically. I've gained probably like 20% of size. People are just, whoa, what happened to you? What's going on there? Nothing really happened. I just regained the glycogen that I lost. That also get some water in there. You look better. You feel better. You're a little more pumped. You can train harder. Like all that good stuff happens. So definitely great work what you've done on your transformation. I'm super proud and happy to hear that the videos also help you out. That's really the goal with the channel. I always try to keep it real with you guys and give you guys exactly what works, because again, a lot of the information that I put out is from my direct work with people, with clients, and what works in the real world. So it's not something that I invented, not some random stuff. We of course look at the science, but also the practical application of it. So I'm really glad that you took the advice to heart and took action, which is the most important thing. I keep talking about this all the time. People have all this information in their head, but they're not taking action. So this is what happens when you do implement the information. So I think you've done a really great job, man, and I'm really proud of you. So I just wanted to say that. And yeah, keep up the good work and definitely keep me posted on your progress. I would always be curious to hear how your maintenance phase goes. Great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And in the future, if you could just give us another video on YouTube saying, the process, like the first phase is losing weight, the second phase is like maintaining that weight, and then the third way is like building up muscle, something on along those lines, because now we know how to get to that point. Is like, what are we going to do after that? And you mentioned some of the things that we could do right now, which is great. But if there was also a dedicated video on YouTube, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Keep it up, and I recommend you to most of my friends that ask me like, "Oh, Abdullah, amazing. You lost, you look great." I tell them this is the guy you need to listen to because he has no magic pills. It's like hard work. That's what it is. So thank you so much, and I'm going to continue listening to your podcast.
Awesome.
So you have a great one. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Thank you for dialing in as well. Everybody else, the line is open, so I'm gonna just click this here so you guys can see the number as well. If you want to jump on here and talk and ask some of your questions as well, I think this is a really cool format because it allows me to interact with you directly and help you in your particular situation with some advice that you normally wouldn't be able to get, because we can give you more personal advice, which when I make videos, which is a very important point that most people kind of overlook, is I'm thinking about thousands of people that are going to see it. So I have to keep the information a bit more general and in order to help many people. But if you're in a specific situation, for you, you might need very specific advice. And that's something to keep in mind, that that's something what you will need to reach the next level to actually get to very high level goals. And appreciate everybody here as well who asked the questions in the chat. I'm just waiting for some of you guys to dial in. The number is here in the chat, so you can just dial in there. Just jump on, and then we can I can take your call. And as far as someone is asking here, what's a realistic time frame from getting down from 15% down to 10% body fat? Well, so this is something that will be individual for you. So someone who is, let's say, at 200 pounds at 15% body fat, getting down to 10 will have a bit of a different journey compared to, let's say, if you're at 160 pounds, then going down to 10%, right? So it's going to be a bit different. So that's going to depend on total body weight, and then a percentage of that weight is how much and how fast you can lose per week. Now, what I've seen from my clients and what we've kind of established as some of the time frames is, first off, it's not the best idea to lose as fast as possible. So if you're thinking about, okay, what's the fastest way, not a good idea. You want to look at what's the most sustainable way, and what's a way that actually will put me at a position of success when I get to 10%. So you don't burn out, you don't do something crazy and then end up at 10% and regaining all the weight back up to 15 and being more upset, disappointed, and being in a really bad spot. So for that reason, I do recommend, I mean, in that journey, you're looking at least about, I'd say 3 to 4 months. That's what you're looking at. Around 4, I would actually aim for as a kind of an ideal way of doing it, because a lot of people, again, if you're coming into this journey and you're not a very advanced lifter with 10 years plus experience, you probably can even gain some muscle in the process. So why not go a little bit slower on the fat loss, but make it more sustainable and also gain muscle in the process? I think that's something to really consider, and that's the approach that I would take here. So get someone else in the line. I'm going to just answer that, and we'll take it from there. All right, who do we have here? Welcome.
Hi, Mario. It's Guy.
Hi, Guy. Welcome. Awesome to have you here.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here because I can never go on the calls on Tuesday and Thursday, so it's a good opportunity.
That's amazing, man. I'm really happy
to ask a question.
And with everybody here in the audience, guys, has been really crushing it, and well, awesome to hear from you.
Yeah. So here's my question. So I feel like I'm losing weight too quickly. Which some would say, like, why? It's not a complaint, right? But I don't want to lose it too quickly and then somehow gain it.
Agreed.
The reason is because I was really hovering about over like 190 pounds for 2 weeks, very consistently. And then one Saturday, I was really relaxed, as I mentioned on the Facebook group, and then I lost 4 pounds basically of water. Right, and since then I've been losing like half a pound a day almost. And this morning I was 182. And I mean, just last week I was 186. So if I look at the sheet that you made for me,
fast. Yeah, that is very fast. That's something we need to slow down. That's definitely something I need to. We'll get into the data, and of course, like the way I recommend is for everybody to lose, I would say, between 0.4 to about 0.7% of your body weight per week. So if you're, let's say, 180 pounds, you're looking at somewhere around at most 1.4 per week, 1.3 per week. That would be my general recommendation at most. And then as you get closer to 10% body fat, even that number will be a little bit slower. And also keep in mind that, it's not linear like a lot of people think it's linear. So they would think about it as, okay, it's going to go straight down. There are fluctuations, right? So some days you might go up, down, but then eventually you look at the weekly and then you see that it's dropping down at that rate that we're looking for. So I'm very confident we'll dial in that rate. But yeah, it's kind of like first world problems, losing body fat a bit faster. So not a big deal.
Right. So I was also thinking, yeah, from listening to one of the modules in the course, I remember that you said that you would want to have a diet break after losing about 10% of your body weight.
Yes.
And if I started at 200
mm-hmm.
and I'm almost at 180, this
mm-hmm.
is 10%. So
exactly. So that's what I'd recommend. That's another thing that I usually say. If you lose about 10-12% of your body weight, then it not be a bad idea to take that diet break. People are always rushing; they always want to reach the end goal. But doing things like diet breaks, refeeds, and being more systematic in the way you do things, and this of course depends on you personally as well, how to apply some of these tools. But these tools are there for our again, our success, and we can use all of them. There's no rush, and I think it's a smart idea. So that's something definitely that we'll plan in, Guy, and we'll have a chat about this actually, how to apply it properly. And I'm going to obviously reach out to you and make sure that we can implement this. I think you're still a couple pounds away from that, so that's going to be really cool to do. And I think it's going to be a great experience for you as well to learn some of these new tools that you have at your disposal. So I think it's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah, that's awesome that I even reached that point where I can think about a little diet break.
Yeah,
after struggling with
crazy. Yeah, it's
many problems.
yeah, it's first world problems, right? Like losing weight, really, really good, having a good rate, then think about diet breaks, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you've done a great job, man, and I'm really proud of you and happy. And so far, I mean, it looks incredible. So I'm really excited to continue your journey.
Thank
and
you, man.
I'll be happy to share your transformation, and not just with the group, but everybody. I think everybody would be really excited about that. So great, keep up the good work, man.
All right, so we'll just chat later.
Absolutely.
On Messenger or something.
Absolutely,
right?
man. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Cheers,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate it. All right. Awesome. Really cool. Really like this whole like fan line thing where you guys can jump on here and we can talk directly. I think this is really, really cool. We've got a couple of questions here from the chat. So let me just quickly look over some of these. But everybody else, by the way, you guys can also just dial in. The phone numbers right here, so you can jump on here directly with me. Someone is asking here, how much time would I need to diet down if I already relatively lean, but just the first two abs? So when you see your top row of your abs, depending, of course, how clear they are, but if you're seeing just the top row, that's somewhere around 17-ish, 18% body fat. So you're looking at, again, at about 4 or 5 months, if you want to do it properly, to get down to really a nice, very lean state. So when I say very lean, I mean a clearly visible six pack. If you're looking at it from a perspective of, let's say, a beach body or more like a Hollywood body, that would be around 10 to 12%. So that's what you're looking at. And one thing, I mean, you could obviously do it faster. You can, everything you can speed up. But the question is it smart to speed things up? Especially if it's your first time, then you should really try to learn how the process works properly. And then later on, if I'm, let's say, doing a cut myself at this time, I can probably do it in a shorter period of time. And because I have a ton of muscle and I know how to train properly, and I can plan my training according to that to make sure I'm not losing, and I can dedicate myself fully to it. If it's your first time getting from, let's say, 17-ish, 18% to 10%, definitely take enough time and think of this as a journey of, it's 4 or 5 months doing it properly, planning it out, but obviously have to have a complete laid out plan, A to Z. This is what's going to happen in month one. This is what's happening in month two. This is what's going to, same what I just spoke with Guy about, the instructions he has as well, and how we're attacking his journey because he's a client. He knows, okay, I'm going to talk to you that at that time. So we're going to do diet breaks. This is how much I need to lose. I'm losing too fast. This is the kind of stuff that feedback, that's the key there. So definitely take enough time, and you'll be able to crush it. And again, consistency is also the key. If you look at something like, let's say, what just happened, like the whole lockdown thing, we all had incredible plans in December 2019. I had so many crazy ideas, and then the lockdown happened in March, and all those things just went out the window. I mean, half of those things went out the window. So if I put a lot of pressure on myself to be at a certain goal, and then this thing happened, well, I there's no way I'm going to achieve it. So you have to be flexible with your goals as well, and sometimes you have to adapt the goal as you go. So it might be, you see, 4 months, but then maybe you got to go take a trip and your best friend is getting married and a couple of other things are happening, and then you decide, well, look, I'm going to get to from 17 down to 14% or 13%. I'm going to stay there for a little bit. Then I'm going to go from there. I'm going to take then that next step in a month from now, and I'm going to go 14 down to 10. What I see a lot of people do is they rush this journey. They're going at it balls to the wall, just trying to push it without really planning things properly. And that really can hinder your progress a lot, because you're setting yourself for failure in certain situations that are not ideal situations that you want to be in. And this is the kind of stuff that you got to start thinking about if you really want to, dial this stuff in. But of course, you're going to be ready, and if you have a certain deadline, then you got to, be adaptable. And I've seen with a lot of clients, I mean, I work specifically with very busy entrepreneurs. I work with extremely busy professionals, guys that work at Google, guys that work at Amazon, other companies. They're really crushing it. And despite all this stuff, I also want to make sure that there are people out there getting results and making no excuses and making it work, right? So there's a lot of stuff out there where, yeah, sure, it's outside of your control, but you can always make it work. Because if you're looking at your own journey, you should position yourself always from a position of, okay, I can actually do this, with a position of confidence. Because if you're looking at it, okay, this is going to come, that's going to come up, so you're just going to feed your brain with a lot of excuses, and you're not going to be able to continue, and you're not going to be able to overcome those obstacles, and it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So regardless, I mean, there's that nuance there that I'm trying to really teach you guys to go for it, go for high level goals. Don't just stay average. If you don't like being average, don't go for average, don't settle for that, go for it. But also be smart as you're going with it, because there's a lot of value in hard work, but there's a lot of value in smart work as well. I think that's really the greater point here. I'm opening the line, guys, so you can dial in with the fan line. The details are going to be in the chat, so you're going to see the phone number here if you're going to jump on here and have a conversation about your direct question. So that'll be really cool, so you can take advantage of that. I got a couple of other questions here in the chat, so I'm just going to try to scroll up here and see what's going on. Actually, yeah, there's one right here. I mentioned breaks being important. Do you have intermittent fasting? Okay, so there's a question about intermittent fasting, and do I break to give my body a guess, to make my body guess? The body is not guessing. The body is really hard to trick. Anything that you look at from a perspective, I'm going to trick my body, is just simply not going to work. That's where a lot of this guru biohacking world really shows its true nature, when they're saying, okay, this new supplement or this new thing is going to trick your body, or this diet is going to magically put you in some kind of fat burning mode. No, like that is just a bunch of nonsense. You know that you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat, effectively. You can lose a little bit of it maybe if you're not in a deep deficit, but eventually, if you want to get lean, very lean, calorie deficit all the way, right? So there's no magical secret or anything like that. Same thing for intermittent fasting. What do you eat? 2, 3, 4, 5 meals a day doesn't really change the fact that you have to manage your total intake. Now, what do you take a break from intermittent fasting or not? Again, it doesn't matter. You can do it if you want to do it, if you like it. I like it personally. I think it helps me stay productive. I think about food less. I don't like to eat more than 3 times in a day. It just adds a lot of unnecessary thinking into the equation, into my schedule. I prefer to really be focused on my work, and for that reason, I'm thinking about 2, 3 meals a day at most. If I start thinking more, it's just going to become a mess. And I've done the whole 6 meals a day thing for many years, and it's a massive headache. Maybe when you started your fitness journey, if you're listening to this, maybe you already knew that 6 meals doesn't really have any advantage over 2 or 3 meals. Like, you might be coming already the knowledge that you don't have to eat 7 meals a day. When I started my fitness journey, everybody in the gym, everybody on forums, everybody on the internet, every book that I read told me I need to eat 6, 7 meals a day to get in shape. It was incredibly difficult to sustain such a routine. I remember at work, I would be called into meetings, and I knew that I had a meal to be during that meeting, and I would eat this tremendous amount of food right before the meeting because I would just stuff my face, just get on the meeting, and then I would be stressed out, and I had to carry food with me everywhere. It's just disgusting. It's terrible. Never ever do that. So I would say 2, 3 meals a day, intermittent fasting with an eating window about 8 to 10 hours really fits most people's schedule, and it's a nice way to structure your routine, and it's a nice way to for you to manage your calories correctly. So that would be just a recommendation. Obviously, if you prefer to have breakfast, it's not going to be a big deal, or anything like that. The other disadvantage of eating a lot of meals is that you are basically training your body to expect food 6, 7 meals, 6, 7 times a day, which again puts you at a disadvantage long term when those meals end up being like 300-calorie meals because you don't have enough calories as you want to keep losing body fat. So you're basically eating peanuts every 2 hours. It is not a good position. So my general recommendation, I don't think I have a single client, and I work with, again, close to 1,000 people that ate more than 4 meals a day. I don't think I've had maybe like one, maybe two people that were like hard gainers, so they had to eat 4,000 calories to gain weight. But I don't think I had a single client that was eating anything close like 5 or 6 meals, seven, but not seven, never, like, it never happened. Just so just so you guys know from that perspective. The fan line is open, by the way. So for anybody who wants to jump in, fan line is open. So it's 205-843-1668. You'll be able to jump on here directly on the call with me. I think if you want to get some personalized advice or get my input on your journey, definitely take advantage of it. I'm going to keep the line open here so everybody can jump in. I'm going to take a look at the chat. We got RCM, thanks for the advice. It's a $5 donation. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's really cool. I don't think I've ever seen that before because I don't even know how that feature works, but I really appreciate that. And thank you. I hope this is very helpful for you. All right. Let me see a couple of other questions that I might have missed in the chat. Guys, everybody else, I mean, take advantage of this. Of course, you got the chat. You can just drop your question in there. If you can't call in, that's also cool. That's also something that we can use to get some questions rolling here. And by the way, also drop a note in the chat where you're watching from. I'm always curious to see where you're coming from and what's your location right now. It's always cool. What's my opinion on genetics and aesthetic bodybuilding? So I'm not a really big fan of bodybuilding as a sport for myself because I don't think I would be able to commit to that type of lifestyle. I definitely have a massive amount of respect for guys that are doing bodybuilding. I think it's a incredibly hard thing to do. For me as an entrepreneur, it would take a tremendous amount of focus from my business, and I wouldn't want to sacrifice my business in order to compete and do those other things because it does require a lot of attention, and I wouldn't consider someone a bodybuilder unless they're competing. So we're talking about competitive bodybuilding. I really respect everybody who is in that sport. I just don't think it's for me. I prefer fitness as a lifestyle. I prefer fitness as being healthy, lean, looking good, feeling good, optimizing my health. And I don't want to take this to the extreme of stepping on stage. And it's just not something that I feel like is a goal for me. Now, of course, if someone wants to do that, I 100% respect that. It's a very, very difficult thing. It does require a tremendous amount of dedication, and all power to you. It's incredible if you want to do that, if you can do that. Now, genetics, of course, make a big difference, especially for competitors. It's one of the main factors. I mean, that's how you're going to look at the end of the day. Your shape of your muscles, you can obviously make your muscle bigger, but the shape itself is genetically determined, and it's something that, yeah, you're just born with. Some people have a narrow waist and really wide shoulders. They have that type of structure, so they look better on stage. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of differences. Now, for most people, I think genetics as a subject of the sort of like the way people talk about it, I think it is just given too much attention. I don't think genetics should be even a part of the talk because it can easily put people in a position where they're starting to judge themselves on things that they can't influence. Unless you can change your genetics and your DNA, you shouldn't be able, to be limited by it. Like, I think of things like that as a static variable. And the way I approach it is ignore it and focus on everything that I can do. Because my genetics, if I look at it objectively, are very, very mediocre at best. Maybe some body parts have a decent genetics, but compared to some of my friends that have been training for a while, I'm nowhere near as good looking as them in terms of aesthetics, and they might have like half the training experience as I do, and they train maybe even half as hard as I do, and they have great physiques. So it really doesn't matter for me. I train for myself. I really want to challenge myself. I want to beat my own mental self-talk that is always there, that's telling you to take a step back, that's being lazy, that's being limiting. And I try to beat that part of me. I think every day, every one of us here, we have to conquer ourselves. Every day is a battle. Every day there's things that you can do to add value to the world, to be the best version of yourself, to do all these amazing things. But then you have that inner voice that, man, don't worry about it. Let's do it tomorrow. Oh, let's play some games. Oh, let's just watch some YouTube. Oh, there's this new episode of this show. Oh, there's this and that. I think that also physically, of course, when you want to do training, there, oh, let's just chill out a little bit. That is what we're trying to beat here. And if you can beat that consistently, if you can conquer yourself and have all these amazing results, I think that's a huge win. And for me, I never looked at genetics. So probably one of the reasons why I never talk about like all these performance enhancing drugs, like how big someone's bicep is, like all this nonsense. I think it's irrelevant because ultimately I don't really care how I look. I just care that I'm doing the best that I possibly can to optimize and be better over time. So I think that's why I'm not even thinking about some of this other stuff that people are so obsessed with. We got someone else on the line here. I'm going to just open up the line. We're going to take the question. Everybody else, jump on as well. All right. Hello.
Hello. Hey, Mario. Thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it. What's your name?
This is Paul. I'm from New York.
Awesome. Great to have you here, Tom. What's your question?
I heard you were talking about intermittent fasting. I just started fasting not too long ago, but I noticed that it's hard to figure out when to work out because I like working out in the morning. And then sometimes, like, if I'm not eating till later in the day, I don't have enough energy to really put into the workout. So just trying to figure out how to balance that more.
And when you say morning, do you mean really early, like 5 in the morning, or maybe like 7 or 8?
No, like 7 or 8.
So what's preventing you from, let's say, having a protein shake right before the workout, get the workout done, maybe have a piece of another, maybe like a little bit of lighter protein, like a snack, and then eating most of your food in your eating window?
Oh, I figured I'd watch some other videos and learn that if you take protein early, it sort of ends your fast. So you shouldn't take it in the morning so that it doesn't end like that time period.
Yes, but here's the thing. What is more beneficial for you, to have good workouts and also actually sandwich that workout with some protein to actually make that workout very effective? Or is it to, let's say, think about this mystical fasting window as having some kind of magical properties, which it doesn't, by the way?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That definitely feels like it benefits more when I have more energy to work out.
Yeah, and man, again, instead of thinking about it, here's another term that I would like you to think about, and everybody here as well. There's something called a protein modified fast. So instead of thinking of it as a fast, just think of it as a protein modified fast in the morning. So you're still doing a decent amount of fasting, and instead of doing a pure fast, you're just having a little bit of protein, doing your workout, and you move on with your day. And you eat all your carbs, fats, and all that other stuff in your whatever eating window you want to do. Works perfectly fine. No problem whatsoever. This is the kind of stuff where practical advice versus what people claim on YouTube and give it sort of this magical halo effect, and then they claim all this other random stuff. That's really vague, and none of that actually has a lot of scientific backing or of any kind, especially the eating window stuff. I mean, that's just, you can play around with that as much as you want.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, man, you have my permission to eat.
All right. Yeah, just wanted to Cool. Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to pop in and ask that question. But thanks so much.
Awesome, man. Well, great to have you here. You've been awesome as well, and definitely and happy to help. It's been really cool.
All right, cool.
All right. Cheers, Tom. All right, we got another person here on the line. Really enjoying these. Hello there.
Hello.
Hello. Who am I speaking to?
This is Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Hello.
Well, welcome to the line. How can I help you?
This is Mario.
Yes, this is Mario himself.
Oh, hello, Len. Sorry, I just saw the live and I just figured I'd call. Well, basically, I just want to say I really like your content, your YouTube videos. It's really motivating. So my question was, I don't know, you look like you're very dedicated to fitness and goals. My question was along the line: how do you do it to stay motivated and evade distractions per se, things that just come up that get in the way of goals that seem to just come up constantly?
It's a really good question, man. And I did a lot of work. Most people really don't understand how much work you need to do on yourself to get your brain to be on your side so you can actually perform well, because that gets in the way. What you just mentioned, distractions, instant gratification, things that are moving you away from your goal. That's actually what really innately we want to do, because the brain is lazy. If you give it enough food and if you give it decent shelter and maybe a chance to reproduce, that's all what it really wants. The brain doesn't really want you to be successful. These high level goals that take years or months to achieve, they're just so vague and they're not providing you much instant gratification. So you really have to work a lot on yourself. Now, one thing you mentioned there that I want to really emphasize is that I'm not a very motivated person, right? I'm not a very motivated person. That doesn't really do much for me. My motivation levels are probably average or just kind of same as most people. But what I think really makes a lot of difference is that I learned how to use discipline and discipline myself to build habits and create systems in my life that I make doing the right thing a lot easier for me, right? So instead of me trying to rely on willpower or motivation to get things done, I'm actually just following the system. So it's designing a system that works for you and makes the right thing very easy to do. So I'm playing with the lazy brain. Like, for example, if I have my fridge full of amazing healthy food, well, it's easier for my lazy brain to just get that food than to go outside and drive for 10 minutes to go to a fast food place and get something else. So I'm trying to actually play with it instead of against it, right? So these are just simple examples. Or having my water right next to me right now, which is it's within hand's reach. I know I'm going to stay hydrated because the water is there. So I've designed the environment to help me stay on track instead of me drinking water only if I have to go to the tap, walk there, come back. It's a glass. I have to wash the glass. I'm back and forth. There's so much friction that I know my brain is not going to be consistent with it. So this is really what you got to look at. You got to look at your entire life, and are you planning and designing your life for success? There's a particular way to design it, because you have 168 hours a week, same as me, same as everybody else, same as Jeff Bezos, same as everybody. Either you're even if you're a multi-billionaire, you still have the same amount of hours in a day. So what you got to do with those hours is be very deliberate. If you're not deliberate with the hours, something else will take those hours, and you're just going to feel like time flies by, nothing gets done, because everybody wants your time. Netflix wants your time, your news wants your time. They don't only just want your time, they also want your attention and your thoughts. That's why I have no media exposure. That's why I don't listen to the news. That's why I have no idea what's going on. Like, people ask me all these type of questions of what's going on. I have no idea, man. Like, I just do my thing. Like, I have zero idea what's going on in the world, right? So I've replaced following the latest trends and gossips with working on myself, providing as much value as I possibly can, and trying to make the world a better place. This is kind of stuff you want to think about if you want to start being motivated. And one of the biggest motivations as well for me personally is just thinking how little time we really have here on the planet. So that's what really drives me a lot. I do tend to think about things like that. Like, how much actual productive time do I have? How can I squeeze as much value out of that as possible? So these are the types of things that really keep me inspired But at the end of the day, it all comes down to habits, because if you do it long enough, you just become sort of this machine that just executes, and there's no friction. There's no doubt. You just execute. You're like a robot. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping as well people to get to that level where you just do the right thing. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I also recently I bump into. I mean, I understand a lot what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. Uh, Also, me, I wanted to ask you,
Hmm.
if possible, like how do you do it to, for example, I'm a guy that's into fitness for years, but I've never really reached elite level physique per se. Especially in terms of like lowering body fats,
Hmm.
which is also one of my goals. I always seem to bump into a wall where like I get relatively lean. I mean, I don't measure my body fat, but I want to say maybe I get to maybe 16, 15% body fat, maybe a little bit lower. Probably my leanness have maybe been, I don't know, maybe 13, who knows. But I always seem to halt when I just get like pretty good. And my problem has always been jumping over that wall where you're just like look good with clothes on, relatively good, with when you have your shirt off, but just can't seem to get the motivation, because I guess the more you get into the goal, the harder it gets, and then when life just gets in the way, it just seems like, oh, I guess whatever. I kind of got what I wanted, but not exactly. You know what I'm saying? Uh, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
know what you mean.
how do you do it?
That's the hard
How
part,
do you do
going
it to
from
get like
good to great. Yeah, that's the tough part,
yeah?
right?
I guess it just gets like harder, as you get into your goal, especially in terms of getting lean. 'Cause I feel like especially when you're dieting to very low levels of body fat,
Hmm.
uh, as you get closer and closer to the goal, it just keeps on getting harder and harder, and it just the motivation seems to like wane at the same time. So like my question, especially because I like a lot about motivation and actually getting to the goal as it gets harder.
Hmm.
So um, what has helped you, break that barrier, that seems to like get a lot of people stuck, myself included.
Hmm. That's a really good question, and this is actually a big reason why I keep mentioning habits and discipline and other things, because motivation might not always be there, especially when things get really hard as you're getting closer to 10%, when they're really difficult. This is where you have to be thinking more from a perspective of the process, and really enjoying the process of getting there. Because if the process of that you see it is very like a dread, or if it feels like it's very draining, or it feels like it's extremely uninspiring, you are not going to eventually get there. You're just going to give up halfway there. Now, another thing that really helps a lot, and this is something I see a lot of people miss, is really having a clear roadmap. So understanding, okay, if I'm right now at 16%, this is the exact amount of weight that I need to lose every week. This is the range. This is where I'm going to be when I'm at 10. This is how I'm going to measure it. This is how I'm going to track everything. This is how I'm going to attack everything systematically, step by step. Because if you go, let's say right now you mentioned, oh, I'm not sure what my body fat is, I'm not sure this, the any uncertainty, like the more you pile on uncertainty, the more you have that doubt in your head. Oh, is this really worth it? What am I really doing here? Oh, can I do this or that? The more vagueness you have, the more likely you are to fail. So the more clarity and just knowing exactly, okay, this is exactly what calories. This is exactly what I'm going to do. This is when I'm taking a break. This is how much I'm going to train. This is how it's going to take. This is how much time it's going to take. And then you have that light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that if I hit this weight, I'm going to be approximately 10% body fat. I'm going to look great. This is how I'm going to make sure that I can maintain that. This is all the stuff, right? So all these factors make things a lot easier for you to commit to, because when you know what you're in for, you know that at least you know what to expect, and you know how it's going to go. So it's easier for you to make a decision whether you're going to commit to it or not. Because if you don't commit to it, obviously you're not going to get there. Like, you're not going to accidentally get to 10% body fat, or you're not, it seems like in business success, you're not going to accidentally have this incredible successful business. So you can make your decision whether you commit to it or not, but at least you have to know what you're in for. So really having that plan, I mean, that is at the end of the day, I think, what's most important. And also, of course, accountability, someone to push you. And when you have those life events come in the way, which is normal, by the way, for everybody, not allowing those to be major setbacks. Because if you have a life event, there's nothing wrong with having something like a week off where you're just maintaining. That's totally fine. But if a week off turns into a month off, and then a month off turns into you regaining all the body fat you lost, now you made a setback. You just lost a bunch of months of progress. And of course, you're going to be demotivated to continue. So really doing it properly, and it should be an obsession in a way. Like it has to be something that is a very focused goal. It can't be something on a back burner that you're just thinking about. Maybe one day I would be very interested to doing that you're not going to get to 10% body fat like that. It just doesn't work. Like, you have to really commit to it. It has to be a legit goal, a legit commitment. I'm going to give this much focus to it, this much time, this much effort, and it's a priority. Like, at the end of the day, it has to be a priority. That's the sad truth that people don't want to hear. If it's not a priority, it's not going to happen. Like, we make time for what we prioritize. We make it work. Like, if it's a priority, you will find a way no matter what. And at the end of the day, I think that's what's missing. Because if you think you can, get there without it being this high level priority, it's yeah. No, man. Like, I'm just telling you the truth, right? I wish you could, because it would be amazing, but that's not true, right?
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I just feel like it's easy to get complacent, especially because like you mentioned some of your videos, and I heard you say it. Like, most people are not motivated. Most people are, especially most the environments that we're in, at work or a family. Everybody is not really interested into fitness, and everybody's not really pushing your goals. And so even if you're slightly into fitness, into goals, you look pretty much better than everybody else. But you're not exactly where you need to be. But that
Exactly.
also kind of holds you back, because you're like, oh, I'm good enough. It's good enough. I'm relatively lean.
It's true,
I'm
man.
not.
True.
I'm pretty healthy. So, but then you're stuck into like a kind of a frustrating rut where you kind of like, your brain tricks you into, hey, you're good, you're fine, but then deep inside, hey, I could do better. I know I want to get to this shape. I know it's possible because I see these guys do it. I see Mario in his videos, 10% body fat, and it's possible. But at the same time, just life, distraction, and environment kind of like just hold you down, I guess. And it could be difficult to break that rut, for sure. I've been in that situation over and over, and I've never quite been able to break through, but I'm determined to keep trying here, at least, to
Yeah,
be able to
absolutely.
reach that end
And
goal, per se.
look, man, I mean, I know that your environment might not be, like, physical environment might not be very inspiring, but you can always surround yourself with people that have this goal and that have reached this goal. That I see this with clients all the time who don't have anybody around them. All their friends are overweight. Nobody, let's say, if I work with a software engineer from Google or from some other company, they don't have ripped software engineer friends. How many software engineers do you know that are super shredded and they're super strong? Like, not many. Like, I don't know that many. I mean, and then if you're surrounding yourself with other people, let's say you're in certain programs, or you find other peers who are in the same boat, they have the same way of thinking, they have the same core values. It just becomes so much easier, because you see that there's a different type of normal. Because right now, if you're thinking, well, what I'm doing is abnormal, and there's this amazing, like you're in this, you see this amazing goal, but it's not normal for you, or you can't see yourself having that, well, you're not going to really commit to it. Again, there's more friction. It's all friction. Everything that goes against it is friction. And your environment, your distractions, eventually this has to be a normal for you, and it has to also in your mind be something that you can do, and you're willing to commit to it, and you want to commit to it, and you can see yourself being there already. And that's, I think, very important, because your environment doesn't have to be perfect. I never had a good environment as well, man. Like, none of my friends, family, like, nobody knows what the hell I'm doing even today. Like, they have no idea. I mean, they know a little bit on the surface level what I tell them, but it's all about you, right? It's all about you and your goals. And ultimately, you have to realize that if you want to be successful in life, you have to be abnormal. Normal is not successful. Average is not successful. Like, the average person is not successful. They don't like their life. Talk to average people. Like, you will see what's happening. If you want more out of life, expect to do more. Expect to be different. That's the only way you're gonna get there. Really, you're not going to get to success by repeating what people who don't have success do. So any opinion, any feedback from someone who's not been there and done it already is irrelevant. I mean, I wouldn't go down the street right now and ask the homeless person in front of 7-Eleven how I'm going to invest in stocks right now. They would be very happy to give me their opinion. Like, everybody would be very happy to give you opinion on what they think is the best diet, what they think you should look like, what they think you should do at your day. But their opinions are relevant unless they're ahead of you in that area of life and they've done what you have to do. Their opinion is irrelevant. So you got to look deep in yourself, and that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge: conquering yourself, man. Not someone else out there, not the environment. It's conquering yourself every single day. Fight that resistance that's holding you back. That's the real enemy, the resistance that's holding you back to doing the right thing. That little voice inside of you that's telling you, oh, it's okay to have, a little bit more today. You can resume on Monday. It's all right. You can skip the workout. That's the voice. That if you can conquer that, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, definitely. It makes sense a lot. I'm there yet. Like, a lot of people seem to give advice. Like, I always thought, well, why am I going to get advice from people that I just do not look up to? That's why I like seeing your videos. That actually, like, kept me really motivated. I mean, right now I'm kind of like struggling with an injury, and gyms are barely opening up with COVID situation here, so my training is not ideal. I'm basically trying to fix my diet, but in terms of what you were saying, staying motivated, or I was always thinking about, in a sense, like, talking to you about it. I just didn't know that this opportunity was going to come. But definitely, I'm trying to talk to more people that are going to give the right advice.
Awesome, man. Hope this is helpful, and I really appreciate you dialing in. And definitely stay in touch. Leave me a comment on some of the videos. I do look at those comments, by the way, everybody here as well. Like, you guys should know, I do look at comments. So drop me a comment from time to time. Let me know how you're doing, and would be happy to follow along a little bit as well in your journey. So keep up the good work, man.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the call.
All right, man. Cheers. All right. Everybody else as well, if you're dialing in, you got the number. Let me just open up the line again here really quick. I do need to click this button a few times to get the info in the chat. It's 205-843-1668. We're going to take a couple more questions, and I'm going to have to run while I got some really nice weather outside to take my walk of the day to get some steps in. That would be really cool. Smash the like button. Yeah, absolutely. Smash the like button. That would be much appreciated as well. I never asked for this kind of stuff. I should probably be asking a lot more for this kind of stuff of liking, sharing, doing all this stuff, because I think it does help with all these algorithms when it comes to YouTube. Absolutely destroy the like button right there. Okay, so I got a question here. While we were waiting for the next caller, is CrossFit any good for building muscle and staying lean? A question from Texas. All right. So CrossFit isn't terrible for building muscle and staying lean. You will definitely build more muscle than if you would to do a purely cardio-based activity like running or cycling or swimming or something like that. Definitely better than nothing, of course. Is it optimal for building muscle? Absolutely not, because the way most workouts are structured, they're too endurance oriented, and they're more like high intensity interval training than they are in terms of optimal hypertrophy training. So it's okay, but it's not ideal. And it's also, if you look at it from a perspective of long-term safety, if you're really pushing yourself and doing high number of chasing PRs, if your form is off and you're doing a lot of Olympic type of movements, which are common in CrossFit, can lead to all types of injuries. And one injury, let's say of your shoulder, can really set you back for 6 months, a year, but you may never recover properly. So I do think if you're looking from a perspective of longevity and also how long it takes to build muscle, how long it takes you to actually get a physique that you want and being more targeted and getting what you want, I do feel like resistance training in a context of a gym, whether it's at home gym or let's say somewhere in a commercial gym, you're just much better off. You got way better tools. You can adjust them. You can do all kinds of stuff. And I'm not against CrossFit, but it just gets you to a certain level. I mean, you can definitely get some of your newbie gains, but you're not going to be able to get to an advanced level physique just by doing CrossFit. At least not most people. So some people might be, but even a lot of CrossFitters that you see that are in incredible shape, they've probably done certain type of maybe like bodybuilding training or physique type of training, and then they switch to CrossFit. So they're mostly maintaining the muscle that they have, and that's something that is very common with a lot of different things that people are promoting on YouTube these days. What I see is they say that calisthenics are great for building muscle, but if you look at the person's actual experience, they've done a lot of resistance training with weight, like dumbbells, barbells. They've done all the compounds for 5+ years. They built a good base, but then they promote calisthenics as the way to build muscle when they've done calisthenics maybe for a year and they haven't improved their physique at all. In some cases, I've actually even seen people regress in their physique and they promote whatever the new flashy thing is out there. At the end of the day, people respond to, unfortunately, we have the bias that we respond to novelty. So whenever something new, cool, and flashy comes along, people are saying, that's the thing, right? And I don't even know. I mean, Solid Freeman says here that might be that they're not natural. That's also something that we can never tell, and that's kind of sad, right? Because that's another variable that can really skew a lot of people's expectations when you get into this journey. People say can achieve these incredible transformations in like 3-4 months for a completely beginner. Man, like you gotta work your butt off to get there. I mean, it's not gonna be easy at all. So that's something to really keep in mind. And you're going to really see your best physique when you make this a lifestyle that you can lead for many years instead of doing something temporary. Temporary just doesn't really cut it if you want to do this naturally, if you want to do it healthy. All right, so the line is open, so everybody you can dial in to chat on air. That's going to be really cool. Probably going to do one more as far as the chat on air thing. I think it's really interesting, so we can still do one more. I got question here from John Adams. He's asking, how long do newbie gains last? Is it a lane of time or until a certain level of muscle is built? It's more the latter. So if you look at someone's genetic potential from 1 to 100, the newbie gains part is getting that first percentage of those gains, and then you basically don't have any. So the closer you are to 100, the harder it is to build. So what newbie gains really is the first 20, 30, 40, 50% where it's faster, and it's not just like the set number, it's a continuum. So the closer to 100, the slower it is, and of course the less you can gain per year. And that's what newbie gains really is. And someone might be training for a couple of years, they don't even have all their newbie gains. I've seen a lot of people like that, and you can see that certain body parts are completely underdeveloped. And this brings another point that newbie gains, you can look at it from a muscle group perspective as well. So if someone has been training chest and biceps for 2-3 years, maybe their chest and bicep has already gotten the newbie gains, but their back might be undeveloped, or certain parts of the back, or their legs, which is a very common for a lot of people that skip leg day. They could gain leg gains very fast because that part of their body is very far from its full potential. Could be with calves, which a lot of people skip, could be with abs, could be with other smaller parts of your body like forearms, could be with even with chest. Like a lot of people don't know how to train their chest properly, so they end up getting very little chest gains, and then they blow up in their tricep and their shoulders without really developing that chest because they're using improper form. They're all these types of mistakes that you would commonly see in the gym, and you actually have to learn over time to stop paying so much attention, because it can be very distracting when you see what people are doing in the gym, and you can kind of see that the person is headed down the path that they're not going to really see much progress. So yeah. Cool. So we're going to take a couple more questions. The line is open, so make sure if you're calling in, you'll be able to call in for a question and just have a quick chat with me. I think that's a really cool feature. I think that's awesome. And let me just double check here in the chat if I can grab one more of these questions. I think that would be really cool. All right. Okay, let me see. Why would I get stronger but not gain size? Well, those two things do come separately in a way, but it also come together. So it's a quite of a nuanced thing. So let's say if you're optimizing for strength, you're gonna train in relatively lower rep ranges. So you're gonna train somewhere between 1 and 5. You're definitely gonna be able to gain size with that, but up to a point where the level of volume required for you to keep gaining size is gonna be so high that you're gonna eventually have to switch to a different type of training, or you're just gonna beat yourself up because it's impractical to get 20 sets of chest in a week if you're doing sets of 3 or 5 reps. I mean, that's going to be very difficult. So it's just going to be too high of an intensity to get the required volume to keep gaining muscle. So it really depends on your training experience. So it is possible to get stronger but not gain size. Another reason is for strength adaptations being also neuromuscular, so and neurological adaptations. So you're going to get in a nutshell, better at the movements, which will allow you to put weight on the bar, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you put on more muscle. Even with the same amount of muscle, if you improve your efficiency with and your form and your technique and execution and your fire rate and all these other things that happen in the back end, quote unquote, how your body works, you're going to be able to lift more weight, but might not gain size. So there's a couple different mechanisms there. So it's not always equal, but generally, if you look at very like long-term perspectives, yes, I mean a natural lifter that looks good is also quite strong. For the most part, you don't see people lifting, I don't know, a 135 bench press and having a big chest and a well-developed, chest from just doing 135 for like 10. You're just not going to see that. For the most part, if you look at naturals, they're going to be strong and they're going to be able to, they're training with good form. They're going to be quite strong. And usually they're going to be able to put out some really decent numbers and look quite impressive as well. So that's why I think there's a lot of confusion there. All right, so it doesn't seem like we got any more dials in, which is cool. I think we answered a lot of good questions as well. It is getting late here as well. I really appreciate all of you for tuning in. I think this is a really cool episode here. Turned out better than I thought it would be because I could just talk here and you have to do any kind of crazy camera setups or anything like that. So I like the radio format. It's kind of cool. We can talk about some topics in a bit of a different way. It's a bit more looser, which allows us to add a lot more value. It's been awesome. Really appreciate everybody here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. And of course, that you're ready to crush it in this upcoming week. This has been awesome. And yeah, I hope to do more of these in the future as well. And we'll be uploading some new content, which I'm really, really excited about as well. I got a bunch of videos in the backlog that I was about to release right before the lockdown, which actually some of them didn't apply to the lockdown because I was talking a lot about walking and all this stuff. And since we're in the lockdown, you wouldn't even be able to do it. So I actually saved up some of those videos, which I'm going to be releasing now. And yeah, I set up a somewhat decent studio here where I'm at so I can film. So that's been really cool. But yeah, that'd be awesome. I was asking you a quick question. How much of a weekly calorie deficit would you recommend? There's no general recommendation for that. I recommend losing somewhere between 0.4 to about 0.7% of your body weight per week, up to 1% of your body weight per week. So this is something to keep in mind. And that's how you want to think of a calorie deficit in terms of how much weight you're losing per week. So hope everybody's doing well. And again, thank you, everybody. And I will catch you soon. All right. Cheers.